It's the new party idea, right?
Right.
Instead of getting together for like a supper club or, you get together
Book club.
for a book club, support group, I don't know. You get together and pour some beers together.
Hey all, Amanda here. Welcome to episode 79 of Great Beer Adventure. Today is an amazing episode. Back a while ago, I lost a piece of audio for an interview that I did with the fine folks at Uncle Tom's Market in Brunswick, Maine. We spoke about blending beers, a topic that is very interesting to me. I felt horrible and put out an open call to all of my Facebook friends to see who might be free to help me record another episode on this topic. Quite quickly, Tim Golden and Nick Evans stepped up. Soon enough, a date was set and they invited even more amazingness to the table. We had all 6 mics fired up, and well, hear for yourself. Hey everybody, Amanda here, and I am sitting at the table with so much amazingness that you will not even believe it. We are down in York at York River Landing, and we're going to be doing some beer blending, mixing, and there is a table full of liquor and beer that is just crazy that I asked people if they want to do something for blending, and I'm just shocked at how much amazingness showed up. So before we get started, though, I want you to meet everybody that is here. So we're going to start right across from me and go around the table and get nice and cozy with those mics, gentlemen.
Okay. Well, my name's Nick Evans. I'm the bar manager or beer buyer of the York River Landing here in York, Maine, and then also the Johnson Seafood and Steak in Northwood, New Hampshire. Yeah, I'm excited to be here.
My name is Patrick Rowan. I am the owner and brewer for Woodland Farms Brewery here in Kittery, Maine.
And now, are you open yet?
We are going through the Federal Tax and Trade Bureau process,
Right.
which takes time.
So you'll be a freshman of 2017.
I will be a freshman of 2017. I think I've missed the cutoff by a very small amount.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Thanks.
Excellent.
My name is David Rowland. I'm the owner / head brewer and janitor at Some Brewing Company in York, Maine.
My name is Kevin McGann. I'm with Wiggly Bridge Distillery here in York, and to follow up what Dave said, pretty much a janitor, brand ambassador, whatever you need.
Punching bag.
That works.
Exactly. I'm Tim Golden, member of Seacoast Beer, also a brand ambassador for Wiggly Bridge, and I'm excited to try some really cool stuff this morning.
Great. So,
I need to put that on my business card.
brand ambassadors?
No, Seacoast Beer member.
Yeah.
Oh,
Seacoast beer, remember?
That's the one.
Yeah.
The one.
Me
Rob Bergen would be
too.
proud.
It's a good one.
So for those of you listening, you may remember Nick's voice from an earlier episode. It was a bonus episode. If you have not heard about cellaring beer, make sure you go back and listen to it. But don't let the kids be around for that one. And
Nick.
you may also
I assume no responsibility for that.
you may also recognize Dave's voice when we did a bio on Some, which you can listen with the kids because they're going to be fans too.
She cut out all the cursing.
That one was
Must
a
be
little
a short
easier to
episode.
handle. All right, so who wants to start with the blending? And should we start with beer on beer? Is that where we go? All right, let's do
Some hot
beer on
beer
beer.
action. All right, that sounds good.
Shouldn't we start with beer, though?
Okay, let's start
Yeah.
with beer. Let's just start with just straight beer.
Start with beer and just like
No, like actually drinking it.
Yeah, yeah,
exactly.
yeah. So
Sean.
we have our intern here.
Yeah,
Intern
Sean
Sean.
Babineau, intern slash.
do you want to start? So, Dave, we're right in the middle of Beer Week. This won't actually release until later in the year, but during the time of taping, we are right in the middle of Beer Week. And Dave, you actually won a blind taste test last night.
Yeah, the fine folks at Sebago and Foundation put on a really cool event at Slab in Portland last night, and about maybe a month and a half ago or so, we were approached, and basically, they wanted people that had a small pilot system, and they wanted to do a fun blind tasting where everyone got the same yeast, and you had to keep it under 5%, and you had to keep it under 12 SRM. So basically, keep it a little bit lighter, but they didn't want basically any roasted malts. They wanted some everyone to have a similar beer, but really see what people could do with a few guidelines in the same yeast. And then it was a blind tasting. There was 7 of us. Foundation Sebago, some Rising Tide, Foul-Mouthed, Mast Landing, and Austin Street. And it was pretty cool. It was completely blind. No one had any idea what they were choosing. In fact, a couple of the brewers had no idea which beers was actually theirs. And we actually got voted favorite beer. So that was.
So who actually brewed that one, Dave?
No, that was Jeff and I.
Jeff
Goodnow and I. We wanted to keep it simple. Belgian Pale Ale. Had to keep it under 5%. I had brewed with hibiscus flowers before with Butch Helleshorn from Earth Eagle, and I really enjoyed what hibiscus could do, and we thought it would be interesting. So we did that, and then we, of course, dry hopped it with 2 pounds per barrel of Citra, because we figured everyone else would probably throw a bunch of hops in there, and it turned out to be kind of cool and a pretty bright beer, and I definitely enjoy it. I hope you guys too. It is actually on tap at the brewery now. So.
This is it right here. Right?
Yeah, this is it. So,
Terrible. Definitely
it's awful. It's just awful.
No, it's great actually. I love that nose.
Yeah. A lot of beers that I have that have the hibiscus in it really go towards the sweet side. But I like that the hops in this really counter that.
Yeah, well, we wanted to, the hibiscus flowers definitely give it a very interesting kind of herbal tea kind of flavor. Mm-hmm. So we wanted to kind of balance that with like the citrusy note, and we were using Bastogne yeast, which is a really high gravity Belgian yeast, and we thought it was a really interesting pick because you had to keep this beer under 5%. So it was actually pretty interesting. I made a very, very small starter out of a 5-gallon pitch from White Labs, and it chewed through this thing in 4 days. Yeah. So this yeast wanted to keep going, but...
Did you end up stopping it so that you at a certain gravity, or you let it finish?
We just let it finish, and I will tell you that we just guessed and got lucky that we pitched just enough that it ate what it needed to and didn't end up giving us like a big 6.5% or 7% beer, which would have been out of the parameters of the little contest.
What was your starting gravity?
Oh my God, I don't even remember. I was like 12 or probably like 12 Plato.
12p.
Yeah.
Cool.
So, well, keep it low.
Perfect.
It had to be under 5%. And we didn't. We have a single wall stainless 1-barrel fermenter, so we don't have any like glycol cooling like we do in the brewery. So it was just kind of. We actually, and our water just got super cold because here in York we use reservoir water, so you're dependent on what the weather is actually doing, and ended up knocking out at like 65 by accident.
Wow.
And it free rose to about 72, so there's definitely some Belgian-ness to it, but it's a little subdued, and this is the first time most of us actually brewed with this yeast, so it was interesting to talk to people last night and find out, hey, whatever. The big question was, hey, what'd you ferment this at? Like, certain people
Baston's a monster. It's an absolute
I'm so lucky that we got lucky. Yeah. We didn't know.
I don't think this is luck, Dave. I think this is skill.
No, as far as it running like way too dry and but it was cool. But Portland Beer Week has been a friggin' blast.
Breakfast of champions.
Yeah.
Cheers.
Cheers to everybody. Cheers. Thank you so much.
Here.
Yes. It's a big table. There's no actual. So now we've tried some straight up beer. Who wants to do some? Can we talk about, before we pour some beers together, why you might actually want to do some blending? Mm-hmm. Can we go with that? Let's do that.
Sure.
Why don't I start with the Petrus, for example? So,
okay. Don't talk.
Yeah.
You're not near the microphone.
So one of the traditional methods for Belgian brewing and anything in the Belgian area is to age of a variety of beers and then blend them back based on year. So it's a very common method to, and not just in Belgium, obviously in America as well too, but is to start with an 18-month to 2-year to 2.5-year beer and then blend it back with a young beer. And this is something that I've been doing for years, and I've been using the Spanish method of Solera, where you have 3 barrels going at all times, and you essentially move from the top barrel down to the middle barrel down to the bottom barrel, taking a third of the barrel off each time. So the beer at the bottom is always going to be your oldest, and you're only removing a third at a time, and you sort of work your way down back through. So over a period of 5 to 7 years, you can end up with some ridiculously complex beer without running into issues with bacteria like Acetobacter and things that will actually sour your beer. It's very common in the distilling industry. It's very common in the sherry industry, and it's a very, very interesting way. So when you're drinking beers like we have in front of us here, we've got both the Petrus aged pale and the aged red. They are, 80-20 or something like that on their blend ratios?
I actually think it says on there.
That's
but
1585 on
1585.
on the red, and the aged pale is 100%.
So I have a question before we move on.
Yeah.
I know that, Tim, you've blended these two together,
I did.
like as a consumer.
Yep.
Now you're talking though as like
As
a
a brewer.
brewer. So before it's even released,
That's
you'll
right.
do
So
some
those
blending.
ratios that Tim was just talking about are actually the ratio of old beer to new beer.
Okay.
So they're saying, in the case of the red, it's 85% new beer to 15% old beer. Now, that old beer is funky. I mean, funky is a nice way of saying it. It's almost undrinkable. And oftentimes, if you get a Belgian beer that is labeled as a Grand Cru, that will mean it's the straight version. It's that old school 3-year-old, as funky as it gets,
I think in this case too, I'm actually using my eyeballs here.
Stop it.
I know. It actually says 15% foeder beer plus 85% double brown beer. So the 85% double brown would be the quote unquote young beer, and then the 15% foeder beer would be something that they've aged for quite a while and was the older one. And I think in general, it's even with these guys, it's probably not. I would venture to guess that it's probably not exactly 15 to 85, because depending on what that beer does, it's a living organism.
Yeah.
They're going to blend to taste, so they know what the aged red tastes like.
Yep.
And they probably have a huge sensory panel and people whose jobs it is to just people that, especially the brewers and the people that work there that know the beer, to try. Yep, this ratio is perfect because this beer did something a little bit different this time, but they can make it taste like all the other aged red they've ever done. But I can tell you from a professional standpoint that they probably have millions of these labels made already, and it's close enough.
It's close enough.
You're not gonna go, this was really 16%,
Right.
84%.
Yeah.
Oh God! And I just knocked over my water bottle.
He still
But
has
yes,
a beer.
So the double brown beer would be the young beer in that case, and then the other one, the aged pale, is 100% foeder beer, so that is going to be an unblended beer. Actually, you're going to blend stuff.
I am. I'm actually going to blend the pale and the red together. So I have the red right here just by itself. If we wanted to sort of start with that,
Sure.
I would pour just a little bit of it because the red is super sweet. It's more like
It's back sweetened with cherries,
yeah,
right?
it's super sweet. So I'll just pour a little in everybody's glass because I want to leave about 25% of this left because I want to blend it with the pale.
Sure.
So as he's pouring, how many breweries here in Maine/New England really do the blending on a regular basis?
I mean, what do you think? Oxbow,
Yeah,
Allagash,
Oxbow and Allagash.
are the big ones. I know Woodland Farms.
Woodland Farms, yeah,
once they're
absolutely.
open.
If I can ever get through the paperwork.
At some we have a couple barrels that we have some different sour beers that are aging, getting to a point where we're either going to just bottle them straight up and sell it as a 100% unblended beer, or we have one that's been in there for 18 months that's definitely getting to the point where we will probably use that as our, in this case, the foeder beer. It's not, we don't have a foeder. We are just using neutral barrels, but we plan on blending once we get beer that is ready to be blended, and a lot of these, you got to start with almost like a 3-year-old beer before you can.
So there's a lot of future planning.
Yes,
well,
it's all future planning.
It comes down to, at a professional level, it comes down to investment of time and real estate as well too, because you really need to have a holding area where you can hold beer for 2 years, and you need to have the vessels available that are just going to sit there. And that is in today's beer world where, you're just crushing through hops and cans to be able to stick, 50 barrels, 100 barrels, 200 barrels off in a warehouse somewhere at 50 degrees to cellar for 2 years.
Hurry up and wait.
Yeah, hurry up and wait is a real investment in time. Yeah. I'm sure the liquor guys here can talk a lot about that.
Absolutely.
Point there.
Squirrel it away when you can.
And, exactly.
That's why we only, right now, we don't have the room to age beer. I literally have 2 barrels that have sour beer in it.
Yeah.
And we built this cool little barrel dolly that has wheels on it, so we can move it around when needed because we have that little bit of real estate. But we also have, we have stuff in barrel racks as well. We have some Brett Saison's conditioning as well and aging that could be good potential blender as well. So we're trying, but you need really, like Rowan said, you need to be able to brew a whole bunch of beer, throw it somewhere, and just sit on it, and you're not going to touch it. It's just going to wait and you got to taste it, and you got to see where it's at, and then all of a sudden you might be like, okay, this is ready, and then it's...
So it's a lot of tasting to make sure it's just where you
are. Well, yeah. One of the things... Blending beer is an art form. It is a true art form. And the best blenders in the world don't even brew their own beer. They will take beer from a variety of different regions and blend it and then sell it under their name.
Really?
Yeah. One of the biggest ones in the world is Cantillon.
Right.
And their beer is amazing. And
they actually sell some of their wort to people like Pierre Tilquin. For the Tilquin Goose, Tilquin Squared, Muir, all those blends. He gets wort usually sourced from Boone, from Cantillon, and I want to say Lindemans as well. Usually sells him a little bit. But I do agree a lot with that whole, it is an art form. There are a few different thoughts on blending. Some people are targeting certain flavor profiles. You can do what would be considered like a cuvee blend, which would be, a very large barrel stock whittled down to a smaller stock of their more closely perfect beers, the things that express what they want to of this malt, yeast character, barrels, etc. And then sometimes you can do what they call enlivening, which is taking an older foeder beer or something that's been barrel aged for a long time and putting in that young beer to help limit the notes of oxidation. Like we had one, we did a Chardonnay barrel aged mixed fermentation beer that had a lot of oxygen ingress. It became very acetic, like a deep, almost vinegary kind of sour to it, and we were just live blending it with just a splash into almost like a Bell's Two-Hearted IPA clone, and it went from a super earthy, bitter beer to a bright, lightly tannic, dry, almost white grape juice.
It's amazing, yeah.
And
we brought some of that to try today.
Perfect. So we are going to try some that you guys have done through the blending process, but right now we're actually in the process of tasting Tim. So as a consumer, you can do this at home.
You can. Obviously, the aged red from Petrus is already blended for you. That, as a 12-ounce beer all by itself, it would
be very sweet.
Very sweet. And it's, for me anyways, I enjoy my beer, but for me to get through a whole 12-ounce bottle of that by myself would be tough. Fortunately, they have the aged pale, and Nick, I think you were mentioning this a lot earlier, that they did a special barrel release, right? I think you were saying that
they did a
50/50.
limited run of kegs. I don't know if they did bottles of it, but
right.
I know we got lucky enough to grab a keg, I think it was last year.
Right. So we were all fortunate. You tried the red, you saw how sweet it was. I'm actually going to blend it. There's a bunch of different schools of thought, 50/50, 75/20. Like, most of it's for taste, at least for myself, on what I like. I've had these beers before. I've blended them before. I've had the 50/50, which is, straight up half-aged pale and half-aged red. I actually like it at 75/25, so I'm going to blend that here while we keep talking, and then we can try the two of them together.
So it sounds like when you're a consumer at home that you should really be thinking about your own taste and Like, my problem is I always feel a little bit like nervous messing with your beers because you guys have put so much time and energy into it that it always seems like if I pour myself some, and
Why would you do that?
I don't know. And, as a consumer, it costs me quite a bit of money.
Yeah.
I know that a lot of money goes into it, so I'm not upset about that, but it's like, I don't want to ruin it.
No, you're taking a chance for sure.
You are
Right.
taking a chance.
And so that's the
part
part
of the
that...
fun, though.
That is part of the fun.
To me, at least, is being able to take, like, I know a lot of people that, very much like a very New England style IPA, but will sometimes blend into those super fruit forward, mildly bitter, a little bit more of a, earthy, like Cascade hop forward, just to get a little bit more of that bitterness, just to, hit their taste of what they're engaged with. And that's not a bad thing. You can't make mistakes. You're going to make mistakes.
Right. Yeah. And that's the whole fun of it, at least for me, from the consumer's perspective. Sorry, I can't talk this morning. Being
It's all right,
able
we're
to,
drinking at 11.
Right.
Probably 11:15 by now.
At least, right?
It's okay.
Being able to see, we're fortunate enough to live in such a great area of the country where we have so many great brewers around us, and my purest heart in me still wants to be able to enjoy the beer the way the brewer intended it. But sometimes I'm like, I just want to get a little funky. I love my sour beers. I love my funky wilds. I love these various blends. So lately, over the last 6 to 8 months, I've been mixing it up with my beers, either blending two beers or blending beers with spirits. That's kind of my new thing right now, is now blending beer with spirits. The last
We're going to
several
get
weeks.
into.
Right. So
You guys have brought quite a few.
just a few.
Excited for that part.
Let me give you a classic sort of example, and this comes from my wife. We're coming out of pumpkin season.
Right.
Every brewer hates pumpkin beer.
Thank God.
You can't have your brewer card without hating pumpkin beer, even though you brew it. My wife loves dark beer.
Yeah.
And extremely hoppy beer as well too. But as we're in the fruit season, she loves taking, for example, Todd's Tributary Porter and blending back with smashed pumpkin from Shipyard. Thank you. They're delicious. You put those two beers together and you've got a dark, pumpkin-y, amazing beer. Or taking a blueberry from Moat and mixing it back with some other dark style.
Yesterday, actually, I did the left-hand nitro milk stout with a splash of the Lindemans Framboise for a dessert stout for
Didn't
somebody.
even call me.
Yeah, they were pretty
in a
happy
fight.
with it.
Yeah. I bet.
And at the end of the day, you're buying the beer. Do what you want with it.
Exactly.
That's true.
I appreciate the patronage, but if you buy a 4-pack, say apostrophe IPA, and you drink one of them and you're so psyched, and then you go, you know what? I have something else, or I've got this here. Even like I say you got like a nice lager or something, or a pilsner, and you're like, I wonder. Go for it. Who cares? Try it. You might come on this. We at the brewery in the tasting room, we do it all the time. You just put, you look at you got 8 taps. Like, you know what? I wonder how the double IPA would be with 25% of our amber.
Yeah. Cinnamon toast.
Yeah, the cinnamon. Actually, my wife. Speaking of, my wife was really pissed off that we do a pumpkin whoopie pie, and that kicked before the cinnamon toast, which is an alt beer with cinnamon. And she was so mad because she likes to blend the two of those together. And I'm like, that's a lot of spice for me, but that's what she likes. And
drinking breakfast.
Yeah, so
Speaking from and as a consumer to the brewers, right? So you guys all know Stoneface. We're familiar with Stoneface over in Newington. They've come out with several months ago Full Clip, which is a different yeast strain on their typical IPA, but a different yeast strain. They also have Blip as one of their beers. Well, now they've taken, because they were blending them in the room, in the tasting room, like you were saying. Now they have Full Blip. So they've made Full Clip and Blip and put the two of those recipes together to come out with now a new style of beer, Full Blip.
yeah, we did that with apostrophe IPA and Goldilocks double IPA.
Right.
Everyone was calling it golden apostrophe. I like apostrophe better.
I was going to say
Apostrophe.
But no, it's funny. It's the exact same thing. And we
Run for
talked
the
about
hills, the apostrophe is coming.
but we've actually talked about brewing that beer then from the ground up.
Right, exactly.
Instead of an actual blend, which we could do as well and say
Right.
this is a blend of the both. And, that's not off the table either. But, yeah, it'd be kind of interesting to brew, one's 6%, one's 8%. Like, let's brew a 7%, and we'll completely combine the malt bill and the hop schedule, and
Yeah.
it could be cool.
It is interesting.
So I have done the pumpkin with the stout because...
Blumpkin.
Yeah, I always thought it was a jack-o'-lantern.
No, it's a blackened pumpkin. It's a blumpkin.
Okay.
Starting
So-
the hair already this morning.
Yeah, I would not recommend that. But yeah, so I know that piece of it, but it was always because it was like too sweet for me now. It was I'm very nostalgic. So pumpkin was like one of my gateway beers.
I know a lot of people who will still hold some reverence for things like
Pumpkin and
Pumpkinhead
Allagash
because
White.
it was like it was that first one that surprised the heck out of them.
I can't do it anymore. So I've done the stout. Are there any other like quote unquote rules of thumb, guidelines that you can share, like ideas of what you should maybe try?
Using contrast to find balance. Like if you have a beer that's a little bit heavy on the sweet side, grabbing something with a little bit more assertive bitterness and finding that will be a good one. Another thing to really remember with acidity is pH is a logarithmic scale. So
Math.
Yeah, so do some math. It's going to be each pH drop is 1,000 times bigger or smaller. So a little can go a long way when it comes to like your base acid beer. If you have a foeder that's like intensely acidic, that can be blended in lightly to things that may be more bitter or a little bit less acid forward to provide some more complexity for it. Another suggestion I want to say before I forget is if you have an off flavor that you don't like, don't really try and blend it out. I mean, you might get lucky with certain ones like Indole, smells like baby diaper. It's not awesome. People aren't going to enjoy that in a beer. I know, right? Weird. But sometimes these sensory compounds are volatile, so they can degas or come off the beer if given some time, but a lot of the time if you're getting Band-Aid and plastic, things
Diacetyl,
like that,
buttery popcorn,
that will
sulfur
go.
and lactose,
If you have diacetyl in your beer and your beer's supposed to be sour, I really hope you have Brettanomyces in there. It will take its time, but it will break down all that, and you won't get that slickness and toffeed buttered movie theater popcorn flavor.
To contrast Nick's idea, or Nick's concepts, which are highly technical,
By the way,
and completely
folks,
valid.
If I can, Nick Evans, not just a pretty face.
Not
just a pretty face.
He's got a face for radio.
I got a body for radio.
Well, what I was going to say was that you also really don't have to care about pH and acidity and all those types of things. If you like Sam Adams and you want to take a Sam Adams and you want to mix it with your favorite lambic, go for it. There's no reason you can't.
Just go hog wild.
Just go hog wild.
It's all
Take
about
a
it.
nice saison.
If you want to be
lambic into it.
really meticulous about the whole thing, do that too.
Yeah.
If that's what
you're
makes you
into it,
happy,
if that's what
and
makes you happy,
gives you the end result that you want, that you're targeting, that's awesome.
yeah.
For me, I mean, I've only been in the beer world for the last 5 to 10 years, and so now that I'm starting to understand, at least as a consumer, and having all this stuff available to me, it's really about what can I play with. What can I? All right, I know what the beer really tastes like normally, and I like it, and I enjoy it. Now, how can I mess with it?
Right.
Not that I want to mess with it, but I want to I really like complex flavors. I really like trying to be able to pick out this particular mosaic hops or that particular citra hops or whatever. And then once you start blending things, that flavor profile just gets so much more complex and makes my brain go buzzy. So it's fun.
It can come off almost one-dimensional if, let's say with a hoppy beer that's straight mosaic, just nothing but guava, passion fruit, really tropical fruit.
Stone fruit,
It's stone fruit, one-dimensional.
One-dimensional.
If you're putting, like a little bit more of like a dank, resiny kind of hop with there that, I forget which beer we were talking about a few weeks ago, but one of my friends said, this has about 35% dirty hippie and about 65% of tropical fruit. He's like, I'd really like to see this around 10% dirty hippie because that little extra bit kind of helps with the flavor development and having it feel like a fuller, richer experience.
Yeah. I've got a lot, people say, you talked about Nick's aging podcast a few minutes ago. I've got a lot of beers that probably shouldn't be aging to play and see what happens. I'm fortunate enough to be able to have some here and there. And like the one that I'm really interested in trying is the 2016 Dogfish Head 120. The 2006 120 that I have, and mixing that with a fresh one when I decide to do it, like have them side by side and then blending the two of them, like you were saying, an old beer and a new beer together, and see how that flavor profile changes.
That oxidation drops off.
Yeah, exactly. You ever drink year-old heady or 2-year-old heady topper?
It's been 6 or 8 months, but not 2 years old.
Yeah, I mean, we had a couple kicking around the back of the beer fridge at the studio, and tried them out, and you know what? They are absolutely amazing non-hoppy beers. And they're crystal clear because you've got a quarter inch of sludge at the bottom from all the stuff that was in all the turbidity that was in the beer. But if you don't think about it like a heady topper, you pour it out and you drink it as an ESB or something along those lines, a really malty, a vintage barley wine. It's delicious.
Exactly.
And it's high enough ABV that it's not going to pick up a whole bunch of off flavors from.
And hopefully they packaged it well and there was no oxygenation.
Yeah,
and
cans. Cans, right?
Yeah, they've been working those cans for a while. I bet you they're pretty good with their dissolved oxygen.
No, we did that with Pepler, right?
Yeah, we did.
We did like a 1-year-old heady, a 6-month,
and a freshie,
a 3-month, a 1-month, and a freshie. And it was pretty cool to see that.
Said that he likes 10 weeks.
Yeah,
that's true.
That's his flavor wheelhouse.
Yeah,
Dave became a petulant cat at the end of the night, where he was he wouldn't allow a can to stand upright. He would just knock them over with his hands for no reason.
I just didn't want anyone to be disappointed.
All right, so we're going to circle back to trying your beer at the end. I wanted to get to that, but let's go across enemy lines. I don't know if that's quite right.
No. We're all friends.
Not
That's
enemies.
all right.
Exactly.
Let's try some distilled stuff with some beer. Let's bring them together.
Sure.
What do you guys got for
I know
us?
Kevin made a couple of great things. I've got 6 over there we can try, and
You want to start with the direct one-to-one?
Sure. So part of what I was talking about before was what's available to me in the area, right? So Some's right next door to Wiggly Bridge. Awesome, because I can get great spirits, craft spirits, and I can get great craft beer literally within walking distance. Like I said, I love Apostrophe, and Crystal Persuasion's probably my favorite beer right now.
Oh, nice.
But I've been enjoying it even better with a little bit of our spirits in it. I've been finding that mixing some of our Wiggly Bridge gin. Our gin is a little on the lighter side. It's not too piney, but IPAs in general can have that little bit pine. So our gin is a little more florally, maybe a little more citrusy. So it brings out and really helps enhance those pine part of the beer and the fruity / citrusy part of the beer. Yeah, that's the one with the gin. So...
All right, so now we've got gin and Apostrophe.
Yep, so Wiggly Bridge gin and Some's Apostrophe IPA.
And it's just straight up, the two together.
The two together, yeah. And so and everybody asks, well, how much gin do you put in? Since beers come in pint cans, I base everything off a pint, and I usually about a ½ ounce per pint. And that's kind of the ratio that I've been doing with any of my beer / spirit blending is ½ ounce by pint, and then you can adjust accordingly depending on your palate.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not a New England IPA.
This is not a turbid New England IPA, but it is still an awesome IPA. So you might get a little bit of hints of the notes of the pine, and obviously the florally part of our...
Yeah.
So
you're not going to get hit in the mouth with a big floral bouquet.
Right.
It's a 54% Croatian juniper, which really dials it back in terms of that floral.
Yeah, I kind of expected more.
I feel like
did I pour an extra?
More gin.
What
You
did I
kick his
miss?
face with some gin. And
Yeah,
like,
but this is not the Beefeater that
No.
we used to drink when we were really young and
No.
didn't know any better.
So
Gateway drugs.
and that's just it. Like I said earlier, I like playing with stuff. And now that I have access to really great stuff, this has now opened up a whole new world for me. I think there's a huge untapped market in beer cocktails and making things like this. Kevin actually probably has a really great one that we'll try in a little bit. But for me, easy access, and it's easy to make, and I don't have to think a lot about all the things that I'm going to put in it. Like ½ ounce of spirit in my 16-ounce beer, or adjust accordingly depending on my palate flavor that night.
do you want to try another one? Or
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, for us, over in the spirits world, it's, we love the fact that people are drinking our spirits straight, but the majority of our consumers are going home and mixing it with something. And we love the fact there's the resurgence of the craft cocktail. And, beer, wine, spirits, fortified wines and spirits have been working very well for years together. There's absolutely no reason why beer can't.
And people have been aging beer in spirits barrels forever.
Forever.
I mean, that's there's. I'd be lying if I said we hadn't, taken a beer and be like, I wonder what that would taste like if it was, maybe pseudo barrel aged, and you drop a splash of bourbon in there and swirl it around, and you're like, wow, that's pretty cool. I mean, that would be worth doing.
That's where our rum comes from. It's all barrel aged rum. It's got that nice sweet flavor to it. We do it in the Caribbean traditional method.
Yep. It's a great way to do it.
Yeah.
Dave, that's a really great segue because I've actually taken your whoopie pie stout, and like you said, that you guys have been aging beers from time to time, doing your big whoop, right, which is your whoopie pie stout aged in
Bourbon
barrels,
yeah.
right? So you do that once a year, right? Which is great, so that we can get it once a year.
Yep.
Right?
So we released it in or around our anniversary,
and so
which is in December. And we have every year we age Imperial bourbon whoopie, essentially. So.
Exactly. And so
it's a bigger beer. It's 9%. It's not our normal 6.3.
I love that beer, and I love the fact that you have such a limited release, but I can still manage to get it. But come, February when my bottles are gone and the kegs are gone and I can't have it anymore, and it's minus 30, and I'm coming in for snow blowing, and I want a big whoop.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, I don't have any more. I can't get any more. I have to trade for some. All of that baloney. So now I can take whoopie pie stout that's available all year long, and I can put a half ounce of Wiggly Bridge's bourbon in it, and now I have big whoop all year long. In a sense.
Close enough.
In a sense.
Close enough.
And that's what we're drinking now. So this is whoopie pie stout with a half ounce of Wiggly Bridge bourbon.
You can definitely get the heat of the bourbon on the back end, but I don't think that. I don't know. I'm not really good at just figuring out which spirit I'm drinking. My mouth just feels hot most of the time.
This one has definitely bourbon on the back end. It's like bourbon kissed. It's like
bourbon kissed.
Just enough.
Just enough.
Yeah, little oaky vanilla on the,
so
on
like
the
an open
finish.
mouth kiss.
Yeah, I can taste it on the back end, but the front just.
And I specifically poured it light this morning because it is 11 in the morning and some of us have to work this afternoon. So generally I might go
it's
a little bit.
11:55.
All right, perfect. Oh, it's noon somewhere. So
you work at a distillery. Let's not lie.
That's true. So I might do 3/4 of an ounce to an ounce for a whole pint, depending on the day, and sometimes I might do 6 ounces to. I'm kidding. I'm just kidding. So, but.
I'm really enjoying seeing how these different flavors are coming together. I suggest to anybody at home to go out and just get a bunch of different things and just go crazy because, this is going to be coming out right near the holiday season. What better time to drink beers with friends, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Totally.
So just
commiserate.
right.
Well, it's the new party idea, right?
Right.
Instead of getting together for a supper club or you get together
Book club.
for a book club, support group. I don't know. You get together and pour some beers together, and
it sounds like a really fun activity to do because so many parties you just sit there and you're just talking about what you don't want to talk about politics. No, just blend beers together.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah.
We have a very strict rule: no politics and no religion. Conversations. So let's talk about beer.
Let's do it. Oh, sorry, I'm behind, folks.
You're behind. That's right.
Catch
You
up.
don't have to drink
Go
it.
that
You
way.
can-
So and we'll. I know I have two. I have 2 or 3 others for us to try. But I'm going to move on to what Kevin made. Beer cocktail. Like I mentioned earlier, I think that this is a huge untapped market. Being able to make something that's really good, really flavorful. I think Nick mentioned before about the various contrasts in both beer and spirits. Some beers might be stronger, where spirits might be sweeter, and being able to have that varying contrast. And so I'll let Kevin take the time to explain this one to you.
Yeah, well, beer cocktails are becoming a real thing now. Tales of the Cocktail actually did a whole masterclass this summer on beer cocktails. We're going back in history now, but, in the early 1700s, we had sailors making the flip, which was beer, rum, sugar,
Yep.
and a little egg, heat it up, and you'll see it froth over.
Dirty sailors.
Dirty sailors. So what we did here is we took a nitro, and we added a ginger habanero simple syrup.
I haven't tried it yet.
The habanero is going to be real light, and that's going to match that lime, and that malt should marry well together. It's going to sit for a while.
The ginger, yeah.
The ginger, it's going to be a little sweeter than what we've been drinking all night. But, I mean, the possibilities in the beer cocktail world are pretty much endless.
Yeah, we actually did do a show back on Father's Day on beer cocktails, which we talked a lot about bitters at that point, which are a little bit, you can find them, but they're a little bit harder. Like this one is beer, alcohol, and lime.
Yeah. Simple syrup, literally just cut up some habanero, cut up some ginger, put them together, let them chill overnight. You have a simple syrup.
That's delicious.
Yeah, it's delicious.
What beer did you say is in this?
I was going to use something, but I ended up using a
Velvet Mercury.
Yeah.
Velvet Merkin.
Oh,
Yeah,
great beer.
Yeah.
Amazing.
I'll make another one for you tonight with yours if you like.
Yeah, it is a lot sweeter, but I feel like the complexity that the ginger brings into it kind of makes it good. This isn't... So when I was quote-unquote a kid, because I was obviously out at bars, but I feel like 21 was such a baby. But those like sweet... I don't know that those were the days. Those are not my days. But, you know, I think about the sweet drinks of then, and that's nothing like this sweetness. It's a much different sweet.
Well, one of the other cocktails I was playing with that we didn't get to put together for today, but is a traditional take on a black and tan with a cocktail in the middle, and kind of holding that without using something local, obviously, without the Guinness and the Bass, but multi-level beer cocktails are working really well. And as long as you find that sugar and that acidity balance, you can really do some really interesting things in that flavor profile.
Yeah, one of the things that I brought actually is a cider, is a snakebite, traditional cider. So which will sometimes have the elderberry liquor in it as well too. So it's truly half beer, half cider with an elderberry floater on top of it.
Nice.
They're absolutely delicious, and that's a traditional English drink. I mean, from for 400 years.
So, would you mind actually to start bringing this thing to a close? Actually, pour some of that.
Sure.
And while he's getting that ready, would you mind telling us some of the other mixtures that you have brought, just so that our listeners can...
Oh, yeah. So
I see more glasses over there.
Yeah,
so let them tell you a little bit more about what they've done.
I've also brought over, so again, Some Brewing's Crystal Persuasion, and have mixed it with our Wiggly Bread vodka, which kind of brings out that alcohol profile just a little bit, and just enough to bring the ABV up on that beer, and makes it's actually really pretty smooth. The other one that I did was your Old Orange Eyes with our rum, which I get right here if you want to try it. So old Orange Eyes in our rum, which we hadn't gotten to, but go ahead, Dave, have at it. So
I think we may run out of time, but one of the other drinks that I was making with Dave's beer was I was using his Old Orange Eyes, mixing it with our rum.
Old Orange Eyes.
Our bourbon.
Old Orange Eyes is a cream ale that has lactose in it and some orange zest and vanilla as well. So it's an orange vanilla cream ale, just in case you're wondering what Old Orange Eyes is.
Yeah, I haven't actually had that one yet.
So what we married there was more of a mesquite barbecue flavor. So I did some mesquite bitters, and then made some sort of barbecue flavored simple syrup. And we did an egg white over the top of it, some lemon juice, or you can substitute, instead of the barbecue simple, do maple syrup, because that'll be that nice sweet flavor. An egg white, and then traditional.
Can we discuss the egg white for a minute?
Oh yeah,
Sure,
absolutely.
Why?
Texture. Frothy texture.
frothy.
So,
Because it's basically a bigger protein net that kind of has some surface tension. When you shake with it, you get a much lighter, creamy feel with all those bubbles and everything.
right, but my mom never let me eat the cookie dough because there were raw eggs in it. But now you're just
More
throwing...
yolk as the issue than
Is it?
the
Yeah,
actual
absolutely.
whites.
Okay, so egg whites are fine to just slurp on. But are they... So the texture is So it becomes frothy when you shake it? Okay,
Yeah.
so it's not slimy
Because
at
it's a
that
high
point.
protein. No, the whole idea of the shake and the cold is what puts air in there while it's agitated, and because the proteins don't break down quickly, you have a very frothy, light, airy kind of beverage. It's lightly whipped almost.
Lightly whipped.
Because every time you mention egg whites, I freak out inside my head because I'm like, what is wrong with you people? It scares me.
We like to live dangerous.
Come up the road to the distillery after this. We'll make you a cocktail
Make
with an
you
egg
a
white
cocktail.
and go from there.
Still have to drive to Portland.
That's okay.
I'm going to Portland for a tasting. We can carpool.
We can
Right.
carpool.
Can you drive
So-
the minivan because it needs to get
Snake
back home?
Eyes.
Snake Eyes.
And can you tell me about it?
Yeah, absolutely. So this is a traditional American Pilsner, heavy corn. So when you smell, you'll get a sulfur sort of, like you were drinking a Pabst or something like that. And then blended back with a Chardonnay yeast apple cider. And the apples came from Mackenzie's farm. My co-brewer Jay and I brewed the cider. It's a young cider, but
Dixon cider.
oh yeah, Dixon cider is what we're actually calling it.
Nice.
This is kind of an example where you can take a beer that you would normally pour in the drain, or you would buy in a 30-pack, and turn it into something that is slightly sour, slightly sweet, slightly funky by just blending back a little bit of local apple cider with it.
Nice.
So it is local hard cider.
Right. So
But you could do actual regular cider.
You could do
as
regular
well.
cider too, yeah.
Yeah.
that makes... Okay, so I have a lot of friends that, even as much as I love them, I just can't get them to buy good beer for when we have parties. So this would be amazing.
Yes,
Yeah.
This would
exactly.
be perfect.
Do you like terrible beer? Here, try this with some cider in it.
Right.
I mean, I think this is such a classic, like Rowan said, it's such a classic English thing
Right.
to do is to blend the ciders together.
Sure.
And I, like that this one's dry. I've had snake bites before.
Yeah.
And they can be a lot sweeter.
Well, and a lot of the cider that gets back sweetened
I was gonna say
is
it's all
used.
the cider
Yeah.
you're using.
Yeah. So this particular cider, it's still turbid. You can't really see through it, but it was fermented with Chardonnay yeast, so it is bone dry. I mean, it
Yeah.
actually finished below 0, or below 1 rather. So, but we drink it live blended at the studio all the time. It's just kind of a
flavor to taste.
flavor to taste, exactly.
Yeah, and I mean, you really can. You said for your parties with your friends. I have not done this, but I would venture to guess that you could probably buy some mass-produced American light lager and some mass-produced cider, and probably find something that would work for you in a pinch.
Yeah.
So my thought is often there's the mass-produced American stuff, and then there's always juice for the kids.
Oh yeah, sure.
I'm going to play around with that
Yeah,
next
why
time.
not?
A little bit,
Right?
a little bit of Kool-Aid in that Bud Light.
Yeah,
Someone's
maybe,
making a shandy.
right?
That's right. Why not?
Well, yeah, I mean,
About a
Kevin
pint,
just said it.
pint to
Shandy.
about a 4-ounce
Shandy
juice
town.
box.
Shandies,
Right,
that's right.
yeah.
Be a fun
Sure.
game.
I mean, Kevin
And then
just
you
said
get
it.
to play with
Shandies,
syrups
geez.
too.
I don't know
Really
about Shandies.
chilling it up.
That's some chocolate
else are you-
syrup
in the fall?
What else are you hiding from us?
Save that for next time.
Yeah.
2%.
Well, honestly, it's funny, and now that we're talking about adding this, and you reminded me, we were at, I had visiting a cousin, and all he had was straight up Bud Heavies, like regular Budweiser, and I kind of gave him some crap, and he was like, "All right, hold on, check this out." And he took a dash of salt and a quick squeeze of lime, and he gave it to me. It was amazing.
So
It was
wait,
so
but
delicious.
isn't that just like the Bud Light limes, or did they?
Right, but this was like way long ago.
Oh, yeah.
But it was literally, it wasn't adding the synthetic stuff or whatever
Right.
they put in that, but just a little hit of salt and a little hit of lime, and that beer was palatable.
This is making me feel a lot better about some of our family get-togethers that we're going to have this holiday season, because I'm just gonna have a little fun with whatever's there. And
I mean, we don't condone drinking those beers on their own, but if
You gotta
it's your
do it.
only choice,
It's your only choice.
there are ways to bring life to the party, so to speak.
Seek out the Echo Cooler.
It's like a sailor in a hurricane. Any port will do.
Yep.
Yeah.
yeah,
Dirty sailors again.
Dirty sailors. We do live in New England.
Wait, this is true.
perfect. This
Wait, do you
makes
think
me
they're
feel
listening?
so much better about the upcoming.
But hey, it is
get-togethers.
Veterans Day, so any
Exactly.
sailors listening, thank you for your service.
Thank you.
Thank you for your service.
You're welcome.
A few months later, but know that we were thinking about you on this day that is Veterans Day.
That's right.
I see some stuff going on across the table.
Yeah, so we've got one last. Well, I don't know if it's the last one, but it's certainly one more to go here. And I just poured you the straight version of the lager. This is a Woodland Farms beer called Cerveza Medico that is just a straight up old school Mexican lager.
Okay.
Think Corona, think Modelo. Yeah, probably more on the Modelo side than the Corona side. And then Nick is opening up this 18-month or so old Chardonnay barrel bottled aceto bomb.
Maybe
He's
trying.
He's
trying. Well, he bottled it, so it's his own fault. I'd go light on that.
That's definitely my fault.
Did you get it?
Yeah. What are you? Oh, you're going to go in the glass? I poured this so you could. You just want. Hey, it's carbonated.
Come on, Nick.
It does have a little bit of sparkle in it.
Okay, so this was a beer that we semi-intentionally let go too far.
Semi-intentionally.
Yeah. Well, we know that we wanted to hit it hard. This is a saison base. It was fermented with a combination of White Labs, French saison, and the yeast base. No, it wasn't. It was melange. Yes, thank you. Which is a mixture of regular yeast, bacteria, and a whole bunch of really gross, cool things.
Yeah, it's Saccharomyces, multiple Brettanomyces, multiple Lactobacillus. I believe only one type of Pediococcus, and I believe they also put some Saccharomyces fermentati in there as well.
So you guys cannot see what just happened, but there was definitely a shaking of the head tasting of that.
So, this is the straight brown. This is the Grand Cru. This is like, if you would like to melt your face, this is what you drink.
Good to know. I guess I probably should.
This is the white whiskey of the.
This is the white whiskey, right? Exactly. This is not for the faint of heart.
Take it just a.
That's a little bit.
It's a whisper.
It's a little bit of how's your father.
That's a little how's your father. That's right. Oh, you want to have a go, eh? All right.
This is hers.
That's hers. Okay.
Yeah, just a splash.
So
I would only like
amazing.
slight face melting, please.
Okay,
it's totally worth doing.
So, what this is going to give you the experience of.
My face already feels a little bit just from
I feel
smelling
slightly
it.
melted. So what I've done here is
You know
we're
that
going to go about
heat you were talking about earlier?
Yeah.
We're going to go about 5% to 95%.
Okay.
With the Mexican lager and this, frankly, delicious.
It's really good.
That's my.
Oh yeah, this is what heartburn is made out of. Right here.
Exactly.
This is the blend, so we can blend it back
Still
here.
have some of the.
Just finish it, Dave.
Just finish it, Dave. Pull up your girly pants and finish it.
Here's bottoms up to heartburn.
Exactly.
I felt it in my nose.
Comes with Tums.
Yep, comes with Tums. Listen, the
Actually, it's
grossest
quite
beers in the
delicious,
world,
honestly.
some of the best beers in the world come from the grossest things.
They do.
Except for those baby diaper ones. 'Cause
Yeah, those are gross.
Those are, yeah.
We leave those for Nick.
So,
Indole can really add some complexity.
Shut up, Nick.
I know, right? Gross.
So on episode 10, I don't remember a lot of numbers past
Numbers
10
are
at this
hard.
point. But episode 10, we actually tried to do a beer that we brewed ourselves, and we put salt water in it. Well, we were going to, but we never got to that point because it turned into a baby diaper bomb, and we just had to.
Yeah, that happens.
Yeah, it's all right. We do have to try doing again, but I've decided I've made enough friends that I don't have to worry about home brewing. I can just go to a brewery and be like,
There you go.
"Hey
That is
guys."
true. Yeah.
The amount of people that I hear that from nowadays is very. It's it's kind of cool, but I still want people to kind of brew beer too. It's no, it's fun though. You'll appreciate it more when you do it yourself. And I can also appreciate going. You know what? I don't have the time, and I can buy better beer than I can.
Oh,
make,
no, you misunderstand, my friend. I mean, I'm coming to your brewery, and I would like to brew with you.
Oh, okay, there we go. No problem.
Because your equipment is a lot more nice than mine.
Let me know when you're available. We brew all the time.
All right, so this is our blend, and it's really sort of an example of how something that was incredibly strong can then be made incredibly delicious.
I could see. So, I've been to a couple of tropical islands, and there aren't amazing beers there. But this is the beer that I want to have there.
Yeah.
Yeah, something that's light and refreshing, but has a little bit of depth of flavor.
Right.
But it's not going to get in the way of you enjoying your temperature.
Piquant, but not obnoxious. You know,
this would go really well with a lot of those Caribbean foods.
Yeah.
Nick, would you call this scrumtrelescent?
Ooh.
I believe so.
Yes. Yeah, I'd pair this with lobster. I'd pair this with scallops. I'd pair it with, anything seafood-based.
Bacon wrapped scallops would be awesome, especially if that was a little bit more lively carbonation.
We're totally getting lunch before we go.
Yeah, we're totally.
Lunch
Yeah,
happening.
I would like it. I like
in the
ceviche.
kitchen.
Is it now?
Yeah, can we have it now?
Yeah. How soon is now?
So, on that note, there are more beers to be had, but I know that you lovely listeners, probably as much as us, need to go get some food. So I just want to say thank you to all of you. I'm going to leave the mics going so that we can keep drinking, and I don't know, maybe there'll be some
It's going to go on record to say that's a terrible idea.
It's probably a terrible idea. But maybe
sorry,
there'll
kids.
be outtakes up
There
on
will be.
our
it'll be.
website.
Have you met Nick? I mean, come on.
The unedited session?
Yeah. So for everybody that's listening to this show, thank you so much. In studio me will be around in just a minute to say thank you and tell you how to find those show notes. But to all of you, thank you so much. I
thank
really
you.
appreciate it.
Cheers for
And
sure.
I'm
Yeah,
actually going to
cheers.
try
Oh,
to cheers.
Clink, clink, drink. Yep. Ah! I gotcha.
A big, huge, giant thank you to all of the fantastic gentlemen that showed up and shared such wisdom and tasty concoctions with us all. For links to everyone and everything on this show, check out the show notes, which can be found on most podcast apps and by going to greatbeeradventure.com/079. While you are there, you will find an extra little bonus from our friends at Wiggly Bridge Distillery. You are not going to want to miss it. Trust me, I promise. Join me next week as we head south, well, slightly at least, for another brief brewery bio. If you all are fabulous co-adventurers would like to support the show, check out our Patreon page. For less than the cost of a beer, you can show us some love. Go to greatbeeradventure.com/support. If you want to see even more from our adventures, follow us on Instagram at Great Beer Adventure. And be sure to subscribe to the show. That way, you won't miss a thing. Great Beer Adventure is part of the Great Pint Society. Cheers.